How do you become a leader before anyone gives you the title? Because if you're waiting for the promotion before you start leading, you might already be left far behind. Most people think leadership happens when somebody appoints you. I don't. I think leadership starts much earlier. I'm going to tell you how, and I'm going to tell you why. In this episode, I'm going to show you how I started building real leadership skills long before I had a leadership role, and how you can do the same. Not by trying to copy one great leader, but by deliberately building what I call a better toolbox. I'm Bryan. I've spent more than 30 years leading teams, but I think I started becoming a leader way before then, while I was still delivering parcels. I just didn't realise it at the time. You see, back then, life wasn't exactly going to plan. For a period, I didn't have a place of my own to live. I was sleeping on the floor of a friend's house. No shame in admitting that. That's just where I started. I just started my first job as a courier. I wasn't thinking about management. I wasn't thinking about leadership. I was thinking about survival. I needed the job. But I'd already developed a simple motto. If it is to be, it is up to me. Think about that. If it is to be, it is up to me. That idea shaped how I worked. I arrived early. I maintained my vehicle. I kept my lunch with me. I planned my routes, I think you say here in Australia. I thought ahead. And if somebody needed help, doesn't matter what it was, I just jumped in and helped. Nobody had given me a leadership title. Let's remember that. Nobody had told me I was being developed. I just behaved in a way that I thought would give me the best chance of succeeding. And here's where things became interesting. People noticed. Not instantly. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because behaviour compounds. Over time, I moved from courier to allocator to operations manager. And at that stage, I was managing 20 owner-drivers. And later on, I found myself in larger operations, then sales, then leadership roles with broader responsibilities. But looking back now, those promotions or roles weren't where leadership started. They were simply where the title finally caught up to the behaviour. And quite a few of you will know what I mean. The title caught up to the behaviour I was putting out there. That's a really important distinction. Let's call it a Bryanism. One of the Bryanisms you're going to hear throughout the long way forward is that leadership is behaviour. Long before someone gives you authority or it's bestowed upon you from on high, people are already experiencing how you communicate, how reliable you are, whether you take responsibility, whether you help others, lift them up, whether you stay calm, and most importantly, whether people can trust you. And I spent quite a bit of time delving into trust in other episodes, so have a look, check them out. The title of leader comes after all of that. It comes later. And that's why, if you want to become a leader, I think one of the worst things you can do is wait for somebody to start developing you. Start now. Don't wait. I think something I did early in my career that I'd now describe as a personal SWOT. Now, if you don't know what a SWOT is, search it up. I'll spell it out for you. A personal SWOT: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a deep dive and high level into what you are or a situation. But I didn't use that language at the time because I hadn't learned it. But that's pretty much what I was doing. You should do it too. Here's what I did. I looked at myself and I asked myself, what am I already good at? What parts of my personality and behaviours help me? What behaviours work? What am I missing? Where are the gaps? And if I want to lead people one day, what do I need to become better at? And that gave me something far more useful than just raw ambition, which I have and had, still always will. It gave me something far more useful than that. It gave me a plan, a development plan, a blueprint for what I needed to do for me to evolve. So you think about that, do the SWOT on yourself, work out what you're good at, where the gaps are, and what you need to do to improve. Then do it. That's your development plan. Because wanting to become a leader and preparing to become one are two very different things. And this is where the toolbox idea really began. I became a collector, not of job titles, not qualifications. I collected techniques, behaviours, ways of communicating, ways of thinking. I'd watch great leaders. How do they explain an idea? How do they handle pressure? How do they speak to someone who's struggling? How do they make decisions? And then I'd also watch poor leaders as well. And I've been exposed to plenty of both, because poor leadership is incredibly educational, provided you're paying attention. Sometimes the lesson isn't, I want to do that. What it is I never want someone working for me to feel the way that person just made me feel. I never want somebody working for me to feel the way that person made me feel. That's a massive technique in my toolbox. Sometimes that tool is almost marked, don't do this. So I collected those too, a big list of don't do this. And what I really loved is that my teachers came from everywhere. Maybe they didn't know it at the time, but they literally were all over the place. Some of them were not just senior executives. I learned from dads at the surf club, from taekwondo instructors, from leading hands in offices in the Navy, from sales managers, commercial managers, state general managers, and there's one in particular who's an absolute legend. If you ever get to watch this, you'll know who you are, Daniel. State general managers, people with completely different personalities, different experiences, different styles. And I would ask questions of those leaders. I might ask, what do you think makes a good leader? Or how would you handle this? Why did you approach that conversation that way? Who taught you? What have you learned? And in a way, these people became informal mentors. I think some of them probably knew it too. And I realized something very, very important. And by the way, do that. If we're talking about tools for the toolbox, and I've just talked about listening and learning and asking questions of leaders in your life, do that. But as I was saying, I realized something very important. I didn't need to become any one of those people, but I could borrow something useful from each and make it mine. And that's a powerful way to think about leadership development or personal development. You don't need to find the perfect leader and copy them, because perfect doesn't exist, but you don't need to copy someone. You just take the best tool from that person, another tool from somebody else. If you see something that doesn't work, learn from that too. And from that, build your own style. If you're finding these conversations valuable, by the way, please consider subscribing. Every week, we add another practical tool to the leadership toolbox using real experiences and lessons you can apply in your career. And I also share inspirational toolbox type ideas on my LinkedIn profile. So do stop by that and connect there if you like. I want to take a moment to put a special note out there to one of the people who gave me language from this idea. Was a gentleman, and he is a gentleman, named Steve Pallow. Steve Pallow is an ITF master instructor, and he used this phrase, and it stuck with me. I loved it so much, I've kept it. Toolbox of techniques. That phrase has stayed with me for life, because leadership really is a toolbox. Communication is a tool, listening is a tool, reflection is a tool, delegation is a tool, decision-making is a tool, introductions is a tool, knowing when to coach somebody, and when simply to step back and let them get on with it. That's another tool. The best leaders I've learned weren't born carrying this enormous toolbox and knowing everything. They built one just for them, slowly, one lesson at a time. And I found, and it might take time, but here's a way to speed things up. It's really useful. Reflection. At the end of each day, I'd ask myself one question. What did I learn today? Just one thing, not 20. What's the most important thing that I learned today? Maybe somebody phrased an idea in a way that resonated with me. I liked it. Maybe a conversation didn't go well. Maybe I'd seen a leader remain incredibly calm in a difficult situation. Or maybe I'd made a mistake. That can happen, believe it. I'd take that lesson, think about it, and I'd work out whether it belonged in my toolbox and where. Sometimes I'd even practice a phrase. I'd change the way I present an idea. Sometimes I'd try the same idea and I'd deliberately try to present the same idea a different way the following day, try a different approach the following day. And over time, you learn what works well and what doesn't for you. It's different for everybody. And over time, those tools accumulated. And that's the bit I think people sometimes miss when they look at experienced leaders. We do. We look at an experienced leader and we see the finished product. We see the finished, polished conversation, that calm Barack Obama style response, the confident decision. We see, the amazing tennis performer absolutely nailing it, but we don't see the thousands of lessons that came before it. We don't see the awkward conversations, the mistakes, the feedback, the observing, the reflecting, the trying again, the learning. And that's why I don't believe leadership is something that suddenly arrives. You build it. You build yourself. And if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, that's great, Bryan, but I don't manage anyone. Perfect. Start now. Because you don't need direct reports to practice listening. And you don't need a title to practice reliability and earn trust. And you don't need authority to help someone else achieve. You definitely don't need a promotion to learn how to communicate clearly. In fact, if you get a promotion and then decide, I need to learn how to communicate better, well, you've got your work cut out for you, because really you need to know that stuff before you nail that promotion. So start filling your toolbox today. And doing that, I would argue, that's how you make yourself ready for the opportunity when it eventually arrives. But it will only arrive if you make yourself ready. Make sense? Promotion doesn't magically create leadership capability. What it does is it exposes the toolbox you've already built. And if there's nothing in that toolbox when you get promoted, well, that gets noticed, because that's when things get difficult. So here's today's tool, if you want to take one away. Build leadership before you need it. Build yourself into the version of you that the future is going to need and look up to. Don't wait until you're promoted before you start learning how to lead. Start practicing. Start collecting those tools now. Observe people. Ask questions. Open questions. How? Why? Ask questions. Seek feedback and reflect. Every day, what did I learn? Try things. Keep what works and discard what doesn't. Don't invest any more time on techniques that don't work for you. Keep what works. And what will happen, you will very quickly develop your own approach. And on reflection, ask yourself this. If I was promoted into a leadership role tomorrow, what tool would I most wish I'd started building today? Communication, confidence, delegation, decision-making, listening, handling different conversations? Pick one. Do your SWOT. That's what I'm talking about here. Do that strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of yourself. And then from that, you'll find that one technique you need to get better at. And find a way to practice it this week. Not when you're promoted, now. because every great leader I've ever met carried a different toolbox, but every one of them spent years building it. And that's how you become a leader before you ever have a title. In the next episode, episode 60, we're going to take that idea further, because having tools is one thing, but people don't experience your intentions. They experience your behaviour. We're going to explore why leadership starts with behaviour and why the example you set is often way more powerful than anything you say. But until then, keep building your toolbox. This is The Long Way Forward. Thank you for tuning in.